Hi, I'm Philip from Optimize Lab, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about auto-apply recommendations in Google Ads. So to start off with, what are, firstly, recommendations, and what does it mean if they're auto-applying, and why is this super important within your Google Ads account? Well, within any Google Ads account, Google makes a number of recommendations for changes that you can make within your account. And the premise of these recommendations is that they can help you to optimize your campaigns. But it's important to realize that not all of these changes are actually optimizations. A lot of them, for example, might help you to spend more money, but they're not going to help you in order to get better results within your Google Ads account necessarily. So what are these recommendations, firstly? And where can you find them? Well, within your account, if you're in the Campaigns tab, you can navigate to this section up here where it says Recommendations. And if you open that up into a new tab, you'll see a lot of things like this, a lot of these different types of recommendations. So, firstly, why do these recommendations exist? Well, Google wants to help advertisers in order to expand their campaigns and spend more through that platform. Of course, this is to help Google at the end of the day to increase their revenue. They're a company that's traded on Wall Street, and they are always under a lot of pressure in order to generate more revenue every single quarter for their shareholders. And this is one of the initiatives in order to achieve their objective. They want advertisers to see every single opportunity to spend more money through the platform. But of course, Google doesn't know what your core objectives are other than what you've entered into the platform. They haven't necessarily had a member of staff contact you and then based on that conversation with you and what your business objectives are, catered this list of recommendations for you. This is all completely automated. These are template recommendations. So you need to take everything you see here with a pinch of salt, and you are under no obligation whatsoever to accept any of these recommendations. So let's look at a few examples before we move on to the auto apply area of this discussion. So, for example, we can see here add broad match keywords. Well, if you're not familiar with what broad match keywords are, there are different match types for keywords, and broad match is the most expansive match type, which means you're going to be targeting a wide spectrum of search terms outside of the individual keywords that you've selected. And so what that means is a lot of those search terms may well be non-relevant to your product or service. And because of that, that could result in not only an increased ad spend, but an increase in your wasted ad spend. And of course, you don't want that because ultimately you don't want to be wasting money through your campaigns. So again, this is something we need to take with a pinch of salt. We don't necessarily want to be adding broad match keywords. It's not going to add any value. It's not going to help us necessarily generate more sales through our account. So that's something that we don't necessarily want to add in. Another example that we can see down here is use display expansion. Well, what is display expansion? Well, if you have a search campaign that's designed specifically to target people who are searching within Google search engine, you can, if you want to, also expand that campaign by adding in a completely different channel, which is display, which will make your ads serve on the display network and target people while they're just browsing the internet, not actually searching for your product or service. So, I mean, typically, if you wanted to set up, if you wanted to target people while they're browsing the internet, you would use a display campaign. There's already a campaign type specifically for that. But again, Google is trying to encourage you to expand, to spend more. And of course, one way to do that is to just have a quick option that you can select to turn your search campaign into a search and a display campaign. So a lot of these recommendations you want to take with a pinch of salt. And what you definitely don't want to happen is for these types of recommendations to be made in your account automatically without you having any knowledge of it happening, other than if you see it reported to you within your notifications tab. But again, if you're not logged into your account, you might not be aware of that. So why does Google have some of these recommendations sometimes be automatically applied without you being aware of it? Well, one thing Google is moving in the direction of is having campaigns optimized automatically within the account. And some of these functions are actually very, very useful. Smart bidding strategies is an example of that. A lot of that is automated and is very, very useful. But ultimately, some of them are not super useful. And the reason Google's moving in this direction, of course, is to make attaining good performance easier. That will, of course, make more people use Google Ads if it's actually helping them to improve their business. But another reason is Google wants to have a little bit more control increasingly over time in what happens within Google Ads accounts. And of course, this will help Google in order to achieve its objective of increasing their revenue. So again, a lot of these recommendations will help, or some of them will help your campaigns, but some of them won't. So it's very important that we control which of these recommendations get automatically applied without our prior approval or consent. So if you want to see that, firstly, you want to make sure that you're in the all campaigns view. You don't want to be looking at one specific campaign. So you're in the all campaigns view, and then you're going to look over here where it says auto apply. So again, we're in the recommendations section, and you'll see this section here, auto apply. So we're going to open that in a new tab, or click on this, and I've already got it opened here, so we can go ahead and take a look. So what we're noticing is that there are a number of different sections down here that we can open up. And there are a number of different recommendations here that you can either select to have on or switched off. And they're in different sections. So we've got ads and assets, and we can select to have ads automatically rotated. So what does that mean? It means that if you have several ads within an ad group, based on the performance, Google will serve the ad that's most likely to get a click and or a conversion from that particular auction at that moment in time. So that could be useful. We want to make sure that the best possible ad is showing that's going to be most relevant to a customer. So that is something that's certainly very useful. Now, you can see there's something here that I haven't ticked, which is add responsive search ads. So this gives Google the opportunity to automatically create new ads for you. And they're going to use the content, the sales copy that you've already provided in order to create those ads for you. Now, I think it's better to either create your own ads or have whoever is managing your account create those ads and make sure those ads are in line with how you want to represent your business and your company to your customers. So I always recommend do not turn that on. You don't want the message that you're serving to your customers to be controlled by anybody else except you or whoever you've chosen to manage your account for you. The other thing is you can select to improve your responsive search ads. And again, this is giving Google control over, or some control over your ad copy and editing and creating new ads. Now, it's important to note with these types of changes and all of the changes that could be recommended or auto-applied in your account, with every single one of them, Google does not take any responsibility over the impact that can have on your performance. Everything in your account is your responsibility or the person managing your account's responsibility. So it's important to note that although some of these things might be recommended and Google may say they can help you get X amount of customers or X amount of clicks per month, none of that is guaranteed. And if any of your ad spend is used as a result of those recommendations being made, even if they're done automatically, Google is not going to refund you for any wasted ad spend, and Google's not going to refund you if your campaign fails to get any clients or any customers. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Everything in here is always your responsibility, but you have to be aware of some of these recommendations that might be auto-applying in your account. Because also, if you've spoken to a Google Ads rep, they may tell you to go into this section and they may tell you to click some of these boxes. And once you click that box, of course, now it's you who's made that change and now everything is your responsibility. So if you are requested to make those changes by a Google Ads rep, then remember, you don't have to make those changes. It's completely your choice. It's completely up to you. And again, they're not going to take responsibility for any of those changes that you make. That's one of the reasons they ask you to make that change yourself. So whether or not some of these may automatically be ticked for you, or whether somebody's recommending to do it, remember, it's your choice. So I would always go into this section and decide what you want to tick and what you don't want to tick. So you'll notice here, remove redundant keywords. That's one that's not necessarily going to impact performance negatively or positively. A redundant keyword is a keyword in your account which isn't generating much in terms of impressions or clicks. However, if it's not serving, but you wanted to have that keyword in your account, then removing it's not going to have much of any benefit other than improving the organization of your account. So I prefer to leave that unmarked. I think that's something that you should change in your account. If you decide you don't want that keyword anymore, then you can delete it or pause it or remove it yourself. That's your choice. Now, the same is true for non-serving keywords, which are keywords that are not getting any impressions or clicks. Redundant keywords are sort of like duplicate keywords in your account. Again, that's your choice. You might be running 2 tests. You might be having 2 campaigns with the same keywords in there. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So again, leave that up to yourself to make that change. Optimize targeting. Again, this is something that gives Google the opportunity to target more individuals, which may or may not result in additional sales for you. In my experience, quite often it does not result in additional sales or additional conversions. So definitely I would recommend leave that unchecked. Upgrade your conversion tracking. That's something that you should be able to do. You shouldn't be relying on Google to make those changes for you. Now let's look at some of the other ones. Now you notice I have none of these checked because I don't want Google automatically adding new keywords. Again, that's something for the ads manager to do because selecting keywords is very, very important. If you add in the wrong keywords, that could result in a lot of wasted ad spend. Your campaign should already have the necessary keywords within it, and then you can expand from there slowly and gradually. And that's the job of the ads manager. They should be going in and making sure that any possible new keywords are already being added into your campaigns. So definitely leave that unchecked. Again, add broad match keywords. You don't want Google just adding a bunch of broad match keywords. That's going to result in your budget being used up and potentially non-relevant terms being targeted within your campaign. Display expansion, we discussed that earlier as well. You don't want another channel added into your campaigns willy-nilly for just to increase spend. That's a big change. It's also a very quick change if you want to make that big change. So there's really no reason to automate it at all. Now, bidding as well. We don't want Google to control those bids within our campaigns. So we definitely want to leave all of these off. These are all things that should be based on your business objectives. And there's nowhere here to enter what your business objectives are. what your profitability is within your company and where you want that profitability to be, whether or not you want to be saving ad spend. There's nowhere for you to give that information to Google. And again, these are all template adjustments that Google will make on your behalf if you select these. So you want to make sure that all of these are switched off and they stay switched off. Now, once you've made changes, for example, if I were to tick this, you'll see it'll give you a summary of how many that you've selected. And once you're finished switching off the ones that you don't want or turning on the ones that you do want, you can go up here and click save, and then that'll be absolutely saved for you. So I hope that is informative, and I hope that will help some of you in order to avoid changes that you don't want being made to your Google Ads account, and will help you save your ad spend and get the most from your Google Ads campaigns. So if that's been helpful and beneficial for you, feel free to subscribe, and I'll be giving you more tips in order to help you maximize the performance of your Google Ads campaigns. Thanks for watching.